onto our subject of dog savvy, eco-friendly guardianship. Okay, not dog savvy, eco savvy guardianship. And it's a subject that's pretty close to my heart. Over my many years, I have tried to be part of initiatives, or I have begun or started initiatives when I was in South Africa, around eco-friendly living lifestyle, and where we can help to cut back on certain things, and to be more aware of sustainability. So to be treading lighter on the earth, on this planet. I believe as dog lovers and animal lovers, we also are lovers of the earth and lovers of nature. And we care about the earth, and we care about her resources and her gifts that she shares with us. And we know that these are limited, and we need to look after future generations. So I believe it's our responsibility to be a little bit eco-savvy. And so today I want to talk about being a little bit eco-savvy when it comes to our dogs in our lives. So first of all, I want to just read some statistics, which I think were quite fascinating. If you want the links, I'll send them to you. There was between 2019 and 2020, the National Pet Ownership Survey showed that 67% of households in the US had pets, which I think is pretty huge. Okay. And that translates to about 85 million households having pets. That could be, they'd say pets, so it could be cats or dogs or or similar, but that's a lot. And in the UK, it's 51% of all adults own a pet. So that's huge. The numbers are huge. And it also says here that the pet dogs, just this is dogs alone, not just pets, pet dogs contribute to about 7% of the yearly environmental change effect of the average European resident. So as a resident, your let's call it your carbon footprint, what you take from resources on an annual basis, 7% of your footprint belongs to your pet, belongs to your dog, if you have one, which I think is pretty considerable. I think it's pretty considerable. So let's have a look at some of the areas where we can try to be a little bit more eco-savvy and a little bit more sustainable when it comes to pet guardianship. The first one is avoid overbuying products. And if you think of this, I have to admit I'm often guilty. I love shopping, and I love shopping for my dogs. But do we need the amount of things that that we buy for them? Do we overbuy? Can we avoid this some way? And I'm talking about everything from beds to blankets to harnesses and leashes, equipment that you use, head collars, muzzles, whatever you buy or whatever you need to buy. How many different collars and leashes and how many different harnesses does your dog have? Do they need that all? And do we need to continuously keep buying? What about toys? Toys is a big one. We love to buy our dogs toys. Sadly, they often destroy them within seconds or minutes. But that's, first of all, it's money down the drain. But second of all, it's the resources that toy was made of. Okay, where does it go? It's all waste afterwards. So do we really, really need to buy the amount of toys? Can we not start to make our own toys out of, a simple thing like an empty recyclable cola bottle? You can stick inside an old sock. I'm sure every household has socks where you only have one and the other one has disappeared. You can stick it inside, tie a knot, and it makes a wonderful toy. The dogs love to crunch on that noise. It's dampened a little bit by the sock. And makes a great tuggy toy. You can also make out of old socks, tie them together and make great little tuggy toys if you like. So use what you've got, egg boxes, packaging from Amazon. Dogs love to rip it up and play with it, etc. So please use what you have at home without rushing out and buying new toys all the time, if possible. Things like bedding, we've said bedding. What about things that like coats and blankets, and raincoats and jackets and things that we need for our dogs? Do we need to buy 3 or 4 or 5, or can we is one okay? I had to stop myself from buying another set this year because I thought there's nothing wrong with the ones before. Yes, they've had them for a couple of years, but they actually do the job. They're perfectly okay. There's no need to buy yet another one. What about things like buying from, when you do buy toys or blankets or whatever equipment it is, can we see that it's from a sustainable resource? So, for instance, is the, plastic toys for dogs are not necessarily a sustainable resource at all. So, can they be made from natural products? There's a lot of toys these days made from either recycled plastic is another alternative, or something like hemp or cotton. There's a lot of other, toys that are made from sustainable materials that we can use as an option, rather than just going out and buying that cheap toy from China that's come from all sorts of non-sustainable resources. Look at the companies that you're buying from as well. Are those companies doing anything to make sure that their supply chain perhaps is running in a good, sustainable way? Are they also sourcing their raw materials sustainably from fair trade farmers, or whatever the case may be? I've just written down here, I had a really good leather leash. So I bought from a local company. I sourced leather leashes, and they were a little bit pricey to start off with, perhaps more than I could have got one on Amazon, from China, for instance. But the quality was really outstanding. And I've had these leashes for 6 years, and I use them every single day. And they still are perfectly functional. They're beautiful. They're soft. They're lovely in the hands. They look great. And I've had them for 6 years. So look at products where you can match the sustainability and the durability, as well as looking at sourcing from local companies, so we don't have the shipping costs, that whole carbon footprint that we have to do when we buy from international companies. What about if you have a puppy and your puppy is growing quickly? Instead of buying new equipment each time they go through the next growth spurt, what about a puppy swap? I know some communities have a little puppy equipment swap where they sort of swap out harnesses or leashes or collars or food bowls or whatever it is, that they can start rotating those with other dog mums, so that they don't have to rush out and buy new every time they go through a growth spurt. So I think that's a great idea when you've got find a puppy community and see if you can swap out some of these things. I've also written here bowls. Don't forget that food and water bowls should not be plastic. That slowly leaches, the plastic molecules slowly leach into the water or the food over the many years of washing and the dog eating in there. So the best type of food bowl is glass or ceramic. You should be using would be best, and of course that's more recyclable and long lasting in the bigger scheme of things too. Also, when it comes to let's talk about food now. So food packaging, what goes into the dog's food. So this is a whole topic on its own. A lot of people talk about wanting to go vegan or reducing their meat, because we know that the huge industrial farming has a massive impact on the earth, on the planet, and the way that animals are treated in farming, the welfare issues. There's a lot pointing towards all of us reducing our meat content in our diets and eating a more vegetable or more plant-based diet, being more healthy for us. And I certainly believe that's a way to go. I certainly believe that we need to be very mindful of that. But we must also remember that our dogs in particular are carnivores. They are not herbivores or omnivores or whatever it is. So I really need, their bulk of their diet should still be meat-based, should still be animal-based proteins. So I think we need to just be mindful of this. I know there's a move towards veganism for dogs, and I think there's too little research out there on there, and I think it's a little bit tricky to navigate that yet. I don't know. I could change my mind in some years, but I don't think so. I think we need to feed them a species appropriate diet. I did try my dogs once on insect protein. You can buy frozen insect protein now, and they sort of looked in their bowls and looked at me and sort of said no thanks. And I think that's the first time my dogs have ever turned their nose up at anything. Anyway, but there are options. There are options you can try, like insect-based protein. But I also believe we can just be more mindful about the type of food that we buy for our dogs. So, we do want still a high meat content, but is that locally sourced meat? Is it organically farmed, if possible? Or is there organ meat in there to balance out? We don't have to have just human grade meat off the supermarket shelf. We can be adding offal into that. So we can be adding organ meat and tripe and all those kind of things that that are usually just thrown away. They're usually byproducts I get from my farmer when he slaughters an animal. He phones me. He's an organic farmer, local guy just down the road. He phones me and he says, if you want the innards, you've got to come tomorrow. So because as they slaughter them, I get them straight away. It's a huge job. I go and pick them up fresh and I cut them all up myself and portion them. Some I dry, some I freeze, some I portion with the food, whatever it is I do with it. But there are options. You don't have to do that if you don't like handling it. But those are certainly options where you can be adding to your protein source for your dog's diet without rushing off and buying, extra meat off the supermarket shelf. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is looking at your, if you buy ready-made food, ready prepared, ready packaged food, is the company again sourcing locally? So you're not having large distances where your meat is being transported, the animals being transported, or the products themselves are being transported to you. What does that supply chain look like? Can we reduce that? What packaging do they use? Do they use loads and loads of different packaging, on the outside? Is that packaging recyclable, and do you recycle it? So important to remember that the packaging is a huge part of the food itself. Is what can we do with the packaging? Can we recycle it? Can we reduce it? Buying in bulk, for instance, freezing and portioning out yourself can also be a way of reducing your carbon footprint there. What about chemicals? Chemicals leach. Let's just talk about shampoos, tick and flea treatments, parasite treatments. Whether we're giving them internally or externally, they're going to come out. They're going to come out in the dog's urine. They're going to come out in the dog's poop. And that is going to be either composted somewhere, it's going to leach into the ground, and it leaches into our groundwater. So, okay, these chemicals are not only from us, from our washing and things, but also from the dogs. So please have a look at your products that you use for all sorts of things like that. So your shampoos, some people like to shampoo with fancy, what do you call it? Perfumes or something that helps the dog to smell nice. Generally, those are artificial and they're chemical. You can use something like a beautiful peppermint oil, a couple of drops in a plain Bastille soap or something would work beautifully. So you don't have to use chemical products. You don't have to use artificial products with all these additives, preservatives, and things in them. Go for something natural if you want to use a shampoo on your dog. Or you could just use grooming. Sometimes just a good brush every day will keep the coat healthy and shiny without having to, and you could reduce your baths for your dogs, for instance. Look at, again, packaging for the products that you're buying for that. Are they biodegradable or are they recyclable, and are you recycling them? So yeah, let's reduce chemicals as much as we can, because at the end of the day, it will come off you and it will land up in our oceans, in our water supply, and in our ground. So chemicals is definitely one. Poop. So let's talk poop. Most countries have pickup laws and that kind of thing. A lot of people don't believe in them. I think for health reasons, it's not a bad idea. And certainly if your dog is on medications or chemicals, etc., again, that poop is going to be degraded biodegrade into the earth, and those chemicals are going to be there. Let's say there is a farmland there that grows up and some animal's going to eat the grass. They are, that's the whole food chain cycle. So I think we do need to be responsible about our dog's poop as well. Picking it up means picking it up in bags. What kind of bags? Don't put them in plastic, normal plastic bags. There's plenty of different options available, made from cornstarch, which are easily biodegradable, made from a recyclable plastic, which we have in our neighborhood. It's a very thin plastic. It's a sort of quickly one use in a way, but at least it's going to biodegrade really quickly. There's paper bags as well. There's even bokashi bins, which is it's a homemade fertilizer. You can actually make fertilizer out of your dog's poop. So these options exist these days. So there's plenty of different options out there. Please be responsible about your dog's poop. Clean it up, put it in a bin where it's going to be recycled. Make sure it's in recyclable bags, and even you can even make your own compost. So there we go. So these are some of my top sort of tips when it comes to eco-savvy living with your dog, just being a little bit more mindful, because I believe we owe it to the planet to walk gently. She gives us so many resources that we can walk gently on this earth and be grateful for all she gives us and help her to sustain in return. So I hope you've enjoyed this little chat. I would love to hear some of your own ideas that you have, or some of the own practices or habits that you have put into place in your life that help you to be a little bit more eco-savvy, a little bit more sustainable in your life with your dog. And thank you for listening, and see you again next week. Bye for now.